Hello, welcome to the Auburn Board of Health meeting. Today is September 11th. Steve Norberg is out and we have Eric here this evening, and we'd like to start with the call to order. And we'll be reviewing the agenda. Is there anything that we'll be adding or removing tonight?
Sure. So thank you. The minutes for August 8th, 2016 are in your packets.
Okay.
And we'll be holding on the March 27th, 2017 minutes for
Okay.
next time.
Okay.
And everything else, I believe, should be in order.
Okay.
That would be the only change.
So, now, because I'm the only one who's here, I think I can still approve the minutes, is that right? When it's just, even though it's myself, because you weren't here at that particular meeting.
Right, so you would just make a note on the minutes that you were in attendance, but obviously Eric was not on the board at that time. So we could accept the minutes as presented and perhaps hold off on a formal approval.
L-I-B-E-R-T-E.
So we can move to accept the minutes, but as you said, hold off for the formal acceptance till Steve gets here. Okay. Very good. All right. And then, hi.
Hi.
So if I may,
Yes.
Tristan Liberty of Board of Selectmen. These are our board members, Vice Chair Carolyn Griffin and Eric Otterson. Tristan has graciously come to the meeting because he had reached out to me within the past couple of weeks regarding a plastic bag ban proposed bylaw. So he was able to attend the meeting this evening to present his ideas.
So I guess, I know you've been given the draft that I had already, right? I don't know if you've had a chance to look it over yet.
No, I just got it, so I didn't see it before, so.
Okay,
no.
that's right. That's right.
Briefly by email.
No.
So yeah, the last Board of Selectmen's meeting, I brought the issue up to the other members, and they voted to allow me to continue to look into it and then eventually bring it back to them. So one of those things was meeting with Darlene and other towns to get their perspective. So I'm going to Millbury tomorrow night to see from their Board of Selectmen what they're thinking. Reached out to Clint, who, actually I forget his last name, but he's with the Sierra Club. He's actually started to get those bans going in other towns and has talked to me about enforcement. One of the big things that we noticed, and I met with Julie, and she said the same thing, that she noticed from reviewing bag bans in other towns and communities, was that they usually gave the enforcing power to the Board of Health. So for that reason, I wanted to come to you guys to get, one, your thoughts on it, give you what this draft now, this rough draft of a bylaw, hear your thoughts on that, and anything, again, I haven't reached out to other communities yet to see what enforcement is like, but really hear from you what you think you would need, what the bylaw might need to help you. I tried to leave it vague enough so that you could pass whatever measures are needed to actually enforce the bylaw. But again, yeah, I'm really looking for input from you guys at this point.
And not being familiar with the ban on bags or anything, certainly, looking through this, I mean, we'd have to defer to Darlene and her office staff to see if they have the infrastructure to carry this forth and stuff like that. I think anything that, some places are actually recycling these bags, and the Price Chopper's recycling them. They do things like that, and they can actually be placed in their recyclable bins, I think, in town as well. I believe they're recyclable. They're not.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, big problem is people think that they are, and they end up in the plants, and end up, if they're not caught and removed from the belt, they end up jamming a lot of the machinery. So, yeah.
So we have, I actually brought in some bags just because when Tristan and I had met, there's a lot revolving around the bags, and I think a lot of what we see, at least in some of the towns, there's actually over 50 towns, I think in Massachusetts, that have done a ban at a local level. And so a lot of, at least my interpretation of what I've seen, a lot of places going towards the ocean and out towards kind of ocean areas, places that are bordered by the ocean, or a lot of wetlands have done bans like this, and I think it's more so to keep it out of the environment, obviously. When you're driving around and you see bags stuck in trees, you see bags in, lakes or streams, it's obviously upsetting, and trying to find a solution to the problem in trying to find out how you can make that happen, because obviously there's a lot to it. So I think in speaking with Tristan, I think the idea is to look and see locally what we can do, and we certainly, I personally think it's a good thing. It's just a matter of, to Eric's point, how we would go about enforcing it. And Tristan and I, just even in our first meeting, that's kind of one of the things that we had talked about. So he has, I know he's looking into it, and he's been able to identify somebody that may be able to help us with that piece. This is more so basically an introduction to have you take a look at it. I think Tristan has already modified it a little bit, because we had talked about some things initially. If retailers are not allowed to use bags that you're normally used to going in and getting bags, it forces people to basically bring bags with them to the stores. Now, some towns, and I'll have you jump in, Tristan, but some towns, based on the size of the store, or if they have multiple stores owned by the same owners, there's different, I guess, scenarios where you may have some exemptions that you would write this in. When you go to the deli counter, or you're going to, I'm thinking like in the produce area, where you take like a small bag, and you're putting your 5 apples or whatever, bananas or something in, those would be exempt.
Right.
When you go to the deli to get a piece of fish, or get your pound of cheese, those are gonna be exempt. So it's not, you know, you're still gonna have your sanitary bags that you would normally handle for food, but it's more so when you go to check out. So I just brought a couple of bags. There's many different options. So obviously, you know, we've got the regular bags. Some retailers have fancier bags. Of course, paper bags with handles. And then there's different grades of the plastic. So even just feeling it, I thought it might be kind of nice. These are from just different retailers. There's different grades on the plastic, and you can almost just feel it in between. So I think there's more discussion to happen on what type of bags, but I think a lot of the major retailers, like we have Shaw's, we have Park and Shop, for the large supermarkets in town, and they already offer bags at the checkout, so you can buy a reusable bag. I think we had discussed possibly doing like a recycling bag, which I thought was kind of nice. On the bottom of that bag, Tristan, maybe you can explain, you can point out what you were talking about.
So actually why I grabbed this bag is I wanted to see. One of the requirements that I threw into this ban in the draft that I actually took from other towns is that they required any paper bag that was used to be 40% post-consumer already recycled, and for the bag to be 100% recyclable. And actually this bag already meets those standards. So, and the way to check that is to just have it printed on there. So that's what I was looking for here.
Do many paper bags not meet that standard?
I don't think that many do. I only really have seen them at Shaw's. I know Shaw's does, so that's why I was checking Trader Joe's just to see. And
So
this one
Shaw's does currently meet
Yeah.
that.
Their paper bags do. The other major thing that I started to see is paper bag consumption does go up. Obviously, when you take out the plastic bag option, because paper bags would still be free, you'd have to buy the reusable bag. So one thing that we were looking into was to maybe, and paper bags are more expensive for the retail owner to actually buy than the plastic bags. So one thing we were looking into is actually putting a fee on the paper bags themselves to encourage people to actually bring their own bags.
So I think depending on how you would want to, you know, having an idea of how it would work and going through the definitions and what charges, you know, you may or may not want to see to give feedback. I think, and please jump in, but I think this is really kind of a draft document to try to get people's feedback,
Right.
at least through Board of Health, Solid Waste Advisory, and figuring out how it would actually work, because essentially if the Board of Health would be the enforcement authority, I can see that we'd have to do a whole educational campaign with the Board of Selectmen as well. If this went as a bylaw, it would have to go through town meeting. So there's various reviews that it would have to do if, you know, Board of Health, Solid Waste supported it, Board of Selectmen on a whole supported it, and ultimately going to town meeting. You'd have to spend a lot of time on education, in meeting with the retailers to make sure that they could actually, they knew what they were doing, because one of the things that I think we had talked about initially, if the Board of Health was was basically the authority, if somebody says, geez, they're giving out plastic bags, and we'd have to go and investigate that, we'd want to make sure that the retailers know where they could get the proper bags, you know, because I think a lot of times when you have a ban, I think the component that people may be nervous about is, geez, how would I even comply with the ban? So I think I'm seeing it as how it would work as it does in other towns. And if Board of Health was enforcement authority, how much time. Really, I think education is the biggest thing to be able to bring people on board. And as far as having the bags, knowing where the retailers could purchase bags like that, and then obviously if people are going to be charged for it, I'm sure there would be some anxiety around that as well. You know, if you go in the supermarket and now you don't have your bags, essentially you'd be charged for bags. So there's really like a whole component on how that would work.
Is this just food related, or is it
Yeah,
all of our
food
retailers,
related.
including the Auburn Mall and?
It would include all retail establishments, with the exception of dry cleaning, newspapers, and we don't into the bags that you use for meat and produce.
So it would extend to retail, which is a little different. You're not taking a bag like this possibly to Sears or
Right.
something, so it would require. Have you been to any towns, Tristan, that currently have it in effect?
Shrewsbury and Somerville.
Okay, so,
And they do it not just for not just for food outlets, they do it for,
I'm not sure about Somerville. I know Shrewsbury doesn't. They expanded it to all of them. So
I'm sorry, what?
Shrewsbury does all retail, not just food.
Okay.
Tristan, do you know how long it took Shrewsbury to get it on board and to get running with it?
I don't know how long. I think they did 6 months after passage, grace period, which seems to be pretty common, either 6 months to a year among towns. Once after it passes town meeting, you know, businesses have that time to learn where to purchase bags that meet the new standards and get rid of what they've already had. So I think it was that 6-month period.
Is the Board of Health the enforcer there in the town?
I think it's Board of Health and Town Manager with
Were you
Shrewsbury.
able to
I
speak
could be
with
wrong.
any of them to?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Board of Health is the most common of the 50 towns, but some towns also have police, town manager. So I think Shrewsbury might have been a town manager and Board of Health, but I'd have to double check.
I was really asking to see if you knew the timeline for compliance. So 6 months after the passing, they needed to start. I just wondered if there was a lag time for compliance to get everyone on board and the education piece of it and what, if any, enforcement that they had to do.
Right.
I see the public aspect and educational aspect being the greater hurdle. I mean, retailers, they have big money and they're already doing it in 50 communities and towns. They can, that's a quick retooling of their machines and they're done. It's the public that's going to go in and find out that,
That they, you know.
right, and they have fixed incomes and all that other stuff too. So I think that's going to be the bigger hurdle.
Right.
I think in food establishments, it's turning in that direction.
Yeah.
And these are readily available and probably greater than 50% are using reusable bags. But in the retail industry, we're probably under 10%. And I think that that's where people will be pretty alarmed if they go in and find out I just purchased all of this and I can't, I have to take it out and piecemeal it. If them stores are going to need to come on board, like the grocery and food stores already are on board with this.
I mean, it's a little, it's, I think, a little ironic too when I think of, you know, you think you go into the big box stores like BJ's or Sam's, you know, and you're buying in bulk, and so realistically you wouldn't be putting, you know, 3 boxes of Cheerios into a bag. So that box mentality, you know, they already do it. And then, I mean, years and years ago, you know, anybody that shopped at Spags, I mean, you went down the aisle, you know, you bumped into a million people, you grabbed a box and you threw your, you know, your water, your Tic Tacs, and your toothpaste in, you know. So, I mean, in a way, it's happened, you know, in the past. It's a matter of, you know, seeing what makes sense and how people would be receptive to the idea. You know, I think to your point, Eileen, I think grocery stores, I I think more and more people do bring their own bags.
Yeah.
Because there's also an incentive too, because you save, I think it's 3 cents a bag, you know, at least at Price Chopper off the top of my head, I think you save 3 cents every time you bring your own bag.
And I believe years ago, when grocery stores were trying to cut down the price of groceries, with our first big increase, probably 15, 20 years ago, everyone charged for bags. If you remember going in, Price Right is still a store that does it, but they stopped, no baggers, bag your own groceries, buy your own bags to cut down on cost and get cheaper grocery stores. So I think that that went over well and probably was the start of these reusable bags.
So I think Tristan was looking to hopefully work with us over the fall and the winter to hopefully present something for the Springtown meetings.
Right.
Do I have that right?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, we're not going to try to rush anything.
Yeah, so we have obviously time to, you know, have the board kind of absorb it, think about the questions, think about, you know, like what Eric is saying, how exactly would the public feel, how, you know, get feedback on how it would apply here. And I'm thinking that Tristan and I would probably spend some time together with other towns, seeing
Yeah.
seeing the, I guess, the most commonly asked questions and issues that come up and how they're dealt with. So I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel, but we can at least look at how other towns have handled these things and be able to, you know, give that information to you so you can make an informed decision. Does that sound reasonable? Yeah. Anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw, I forgot about Amherst. They were another town that also did it for all retail establishments. And of course Amherst is probably more green and liberal there, but every time you go into a store, they have the paper bags lined up, even a CVS. So I really don't see, even in the retail establishments, people being surprised by it, but I think it had to do with, there's a 6 month delay where you actually are trying to tell the public that this is a thing that's going to happen, so they're prepared for it. But that's all I have.
You definitely let us know how it goes in Millbury, and I know that was one of the towns that you were reaching out to. So we can certainly share information back and forth, and probably have Tristan back for a future meeting, if that sounds okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So should I aim to have Clint meet with us here at a Board of Health meeting, or just would you prefer with just you or you and I to talk about
That's
it?
really, I guess, up to the board. Clint is somebody that Tristan had made contact with, that at least is helping other towns, but has dealt with kind of bringing instituting a ban in Brookline. I thought it was Brookline.
Yeah, I think it was too. Yeah, they had to change theirs too to help enforce it. But yeah, he worked with enforcing it in Brookline, and then has helped draft different bylaws for various other towns also.
I mean, what we could do is, if you're okay with it, you know, we could probably do an internal meeting.
Right.
And then maybe get some information, you know, kind of get an understanding for how Eileen and I would essentially be dealing with the bylaw and some of the trials and tribulations of how they've dealt with it in other towns. And, you know, what they've overcome, and I guess how they think it's going. You know, do they feel like it's successful, or are they, you know, are they working with the businesses, or the businesses just like, this is too much, you know? That's the type of thing that I would want to know, because, I mean, they're going to essentially be asking the Board of Health, what do you want me to do? You know, how am I going to comply with this ban? And there's the financial aspect, you know, how the public is going to handle it, because there's going to be all different working class, people that are retired, people that are on fixed incomes, you know, I mean, you want to make sure that everybody understands before you put something
Right.
into place.
Is Millbury thinking about this being as well?
Millbury has it for their Board of Selectmen as a discussion item tomorrow night. I started talking to their town manager about putting it on and talking to them about it. One of the requests from the Board of Selectmen was that going forward with this, looking into it, that I also reach out to other communities because we didn't want to do it alone. Obviously in Worcester County we still have Shrewsbury, but we didn't want to be us in Shrewsbury and Athol actually alone here. So I reached out to Millbury, Oxford, Worcester, Paxton to try that.
Millbury actually is definitely considerably more like Auburn based on their shopping center in the Auburn Mall. So size-wise, it's probably establishment-wise, we might be a little bigger, but if you want to compare what type of businesses they have,
Right.
that's a great comparison for our town.
That's interesting, yeah.
So I'll get their opinions obviously tomorrow night and we'll see where they're at.
So we can connect and figure out a meeting time.
Sure.
Does that sound okay?
And hopefully by then I'll have heard back from some of the other towns that have
Yeah, that's awesome.
entered it and see.
So we'll bring you more information as we kind of evolve through it.
All right.
Sound all right?
Very good.
Awesome. All
Great.
right, great.
Thank you.
very much,
Thank you.
Kristen. Thanks for coming.
Thank you too.
So the ban that he had originally sent, he's modified some, so that's the one that I had sent through email. This is the latest one that has the charges that he was talking about, the charges per bag. So that's, again, you know, a discussion item, which I think we'll get more information on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I was
awesome.
just- yeah.
So the Board of Health fee schedule, I wanted to let you know, so Paula has been working
Yeah.
a long time on that, and I think she was able to finish it, and the reason that it took so long, you can kind of see it's
Oh,
a pretty
yeah.
big chart, there's several pages to it. And we try to, it's kind of a dynamic document just because not every town is going to have the same fee schedule. So obviously there's going to be different charges and there's going to be different ways that municipalities are going to set up their fees. And so I think she tried, the reason that the table is so big is because she tried to accommodate the fact that everybody does it a little bit different. But I think this is going to take some time to kind of look at and think about how we want to go about reviewing the fees. But at least, even just for the first one, so for limited food service, if you were to look across, so Auburn, we have a charge of $100. I think Charlton was closely to that. Holden doesn't charge a fee, Leicester's charges $25, and then it goes up from there. And so you can kind of see there's towns that are kind of all over the place that go up to like $250 on that. So having an understanding, and I'm thinking we might be able to just break this down into pieces. So there's a food piece where we have a number of different charges around retail food establishments, and when I say retail, I mean like a prepackaged item, okay? So something that's in a sealed container. We do have like convenience stores. We do have some convenience stores that are just retail food. Others are going to have retail food, and they may have a limited food service, which might be like coffee service. And it ranges anywhere from full food service. And so the full food service, if you can, on the scale of thinking like a full service restaurant. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm thinking that we could break these fees down now that we have it in a chart form. What I would like to do is obviously get your feedback, but looking at what the chart has, it may give us an idea of kind of the ballpark of where others are and where we are. I think there's definitely room. I think the last time we had the, let's see, do I have, oh, Paula, can you slide my binder over, please? Thank you. So the last review of the fee schedule, it's been some time. And so that was in 2013. So it's been 4 years. I think it's definitely worth looking at this point to take a look. From that time, it was 2005 to 2013, so that was a pretty long time. So fees definitely were adjusted in the more recent past, but it's been 4 years, almost 5. So I think that it's a good time to take a look at it. I know that Eileen and I have even come up with some fees that I think that we wanted to add or modify, just from things coming up. Like I'm not sure, do we have okay, we do have the beaver permit in here. But for example, like I think some fees that we were looking at that do not fall in line at all with the amount of time that we spend on it. So we kind of want to put an adjustment in there so that it covers the cost of the time and the review time and the paperwork, as well as with the inspection out in the field. And so having an understanding of that will give you an understanding of why getting the fee schedule updated is going to be helpful. So it's a lot to take in. It's a big document, but we definitely are making progress now that you can kind of see it in. You don't have to flip through the different fee schedules. You kind of see it on a chart. What I'd like to do is perhaps at the next meeting bring you some suggestions of where we think some things may be changed. Does that sound all right? Okay. And honestly, if you see something that you think is way out of line, like you think, geez, darling, I think this is too low or too high, or why do we have this fee? Please, let me know, because I know with the amount of time, even for like chemical toilets, chemical toilets we charge $10. There's other towns that charge $5. Some don't charge, but we know that the amount of time, like we get chemical toilets out there. Well, chemical toilets have to be picked up by a licensed septic hauler. We're finding that there's people dropping the toilets are not licensed septic haulers. So it kind of creates another another phone call for us to have to follow up and say, okay, we need you to be licensed. Where are you disposing of your sewage and so forth. So we see that we're increasing the amount of time that we're spending on it. So we may not have to adjust that fee, but may have to come up with a better process for people knowing that they have to be in compliance for that.
Okay.
Yes.
If you see an NA on there, it doesn't mean that the town does not charge a fee for that. It's just I couldn't find it on their fee schedules. So if there is a town that you'd like to see if there are fees, I can call them directly and see what their fees are. So this is just going off of what I could find on their fee schedules online.
Gotcha.
All right, so more information to come on that. At least you've got a document that you can refer to, and I think this will definitely help us, you know, when we start the discussion points of actually adjusting them. Okay. Are you okay? Okay. So in your packets, I am going to, you have correspondence in your packet, hopefully, for the latest order that was sent to 10 Stone Street. So 10 Stone Street, as you may recall, we spoke about recently, and under the housing update, we had talked about this property, and it's been pretty much a year ago when the board took, just get to the right file there, when the board took action on this property due to the fire department visit at the property. So it's been, it goes by fast, but it has been a year. The house was in rough shape a year ago, and I think probably has been for some time. However, it continues to deteriorate. The board had discussed go ahead and send basically an updated order to the property owner, and we did do that. So I prepared a letter basically kind of giving an update and a review as to where we were at. The order last year was issued on August 16th, and then earlier this year, the town had to secure the property because either the owner or somebody else was going in and out of the property. We did have a concern for first responders going inside this property. That's initially how we knew how bad it was. The building commissioner and myself did actually go inside the property, and the structure definitely was not safe inside. So this was a 14-day order that we sent out, and in conjunction with this order, we gave 14 days. So the 2 weeks is actually up this week. So the timeline. I have not, unfortunately, have not heard from the property owner. So there hasn't been any change unfortunately, no positive changes to provide you with an update from the property owner. However, in conjunction with the order, we are also working, I think I had mentioned, I'm also working with the Attorney General's office for problem properties in town. And so we went out with the Attorney General's office the end of August. I think it was right around the third week in August. So we did a site visit for several properties in town, including this one. And the AG did take a look at it. The AG has to do some preliminary reviews, so it takes some time legally to figure out who the property owner is under Registry of Deeds and other legal documents, and time for them to do research on that. So they did do the initial site visit. Myself and Eileen went out with a couple of representatives from the Attorney General's office, and they were going to review the handful of properties that we brought them to. Based on the update on the 2-week order, I am now going to reach out to the AG's office to see if they have any updates on this property and whether or not they are agreeable to having this, accepting this into their program, because they do have criteria that they have to meet on each property, and so they have to do a little bit of homework to basically give us an answer whether or not a property is acceptable to be in their program. We did get pretty good feedback from them initially when we went out, and they seemed open to the properties that we brought them to, but until they actually look at what we have for legal documents, they can't give you a definite answer. So I wanted to let you know where we were at, give you the latest information. I do think that we are going to have to keep moving forward on it because we continue to get complaints, which I think I had mentioned last time. And unfortunately, the seasons are changing, and so we're going to go through another winter where the property is going to continue to deteriorate. So, as a reminder, this house was not weather tight. It's open to the elements. There have been animals seen in on the property. I know there were rodents inside the property. So a number of, obviously, concerns. And our number one concern is absolutely making sure nobody goes inside the property, so we boarded and secured it. Legal counsel is aware of it. And at this point, if the owner is non-responsive, we want to see if the AG can help us bring the property at least back into compliance. So that's the latest on this particular property. Do you have any questions or any concerns as to the action that I'm moving in? Okay. That's good. So I will, I'll give you an update on this, hopefully by the next meeting from the AG's visit, and hopefully be able to tell you, they're accepting several of the properties that we brought them, hopefully all of them, as part of their program. So I'll give you a further update as I learn it.
It's good.
Okay, so for animal control, our animal control officer is, as far as for licensing, I wanted to bring you up to date. So she has been working to get all of the, as many dog owners get their licenses up to date. Right now, we're currently about 2,200 licenses. We have 500 outstanding. So there's still about 500 homeowners out there that have dogs, that were aware of dogs at the property that haven't licensed. So she will be issuing citations within the next couple of weeks to any dog owner that hasn't licensed. So just wanted to bring you up to date on that. I think you've obviously met Amy Contois. She's been at several of the hearings that we've had, and she sends out email reminders, she sent out letters. I mean, she's doing as much as she can do to try to remind people. So if there are anybody out there, licensing is already due, so it's already past due. So those citations will be issued within the next couple of weeks. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So the Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Coalition, we have an update. So this is the time of year, fall is the time of year that we do our annual meeting. The meeting will be this week, and we'll find out what the priorities are for the upcoming year. The compliance checks, unfortunately, I do have some bad news to give you. We were notified by WRTCC that we actually had 5 retailers sell to minors in the last compliance round. I'm waiting on details on around the sale of it, and we will be issuing citations to those retailers. So the thing that is upsetting, obviously, about the whole thing is we actually just renewed all of our retailers. Is it the beginning of July, Paula?
Yes.
So over the past year, we've noticed that we've had, I think the last compliance checks were in the spring, and we had 2 people sell.
3.
Was it 3? Okay. So 3 people, we got payment for all 3, but at that time, we recognized, okay, is there something that we can do to try to, make sure people are on their toes? So we sent out educational information reminders. We actually had some nice flyers that we put within the renewal application to all those places. And those actually went across the board, so not just the 2 or the 3 retailers. All of the retailers got that educational information. And, you know, we had five retailers sell to minors. So we know that, there's work to be done here. So that's one of the things that I know I'm going to bring up in the meeting when we go. Is there something that we're missing that we can improve and figure out how to do better?
When they do the compliance check like that, so when, you know, say I'm the person going in to buy and I'm
Yep.
underage, but pretend, and I buy from you, do you know that after the sale has been made, do you know that you just made a sale to an under?
Not immediately. So that's the details that we're waiting on right now. So they actually will send us, they'll send us like the whole detail of the sale. So say, for example, XYZ store failed the compliance check. So they'll send me in the detail, sale was made on, say, Monday, September 11th at 4:20, and it was a female employee of, I don't know, I think they identify it as like in their brunette or blonde or age group or something. They give some sort of description so that if you are the owner of the store, you'll, if you have tapes or you have a schedule, you'll know, okay, so that was, Mrs. Smith working that day at that time. So essentially you're going to go to that employee. But I guess if we're trying to make it easier for people and giving them the tools to be able to educate their employees, we want them to educate their employees. We don't want people selling to minors. So I'll have more information for you at the next meeting as to what tickets are going to be issued. So solid waste update, I wanted to let you know that we continue to meet with the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. They are working on updating the rules and regulations for solid waste users, anybody on the municipal program. And then we also had a recycling bin order placed. So the 18-gallon blue square bins, those were purchased. I think we ordered 50 of them, if I'm not mistaken. So we got 50 buckets in. Those buckets are going to be given to people on no-toter streets. So streets that a regular trash truck can't go down. We want to make sure that all those people on those streets actually have toters and have the tools they need to have in order to recycle. So if you're on a regular street, you have 2 toters, you have trash and a recycling bin. On some of the private streets where a regular truck, the automated truck, can't go down and empty those toters, they actually get, they have to use their own trash bin to put their trash in. But if they don't have something to put their recycling in, it's very difficult for them to recycle. So we have, as the other update to you, we actually have the solid waste reduction coordinator that's going to be starting this week. That person was hired through a grant program, the DEP grant that we were able to secure with our recycling coordinator, Amy Sullivan. So that person will be starting, and they're actually going to be out in the field. They're going to be boots on the ground. So anything that Eileen and I can't get to, on a regular basis for trash questions, what do I do? I've got a problem with my recycling toter. They're going to be in specific areas of the town to be able to try to help people educate on what we can do to increase recycling. So I just wanted to give you an update. You will meet that person, but just to give you an update, we're going to be in the process of training. Central Mass Mosquito Control. So this is the time of year that we usually get the positive hits for West Nile virus. They are coming into the cooler nights, and the spray program is going to be discontinued. There's very specific times and temperatures temperatures of when they can spray. So when you have warmer days like today, and then it dips into cooler nights, their opportunity for spraying becomes smaller. So as it gets cooler, they won't be able to spray. We're hoping to, we've had one spray event this year, and that was up in the Packagug area. And honestly, that is usually the area, because we border with Worcester, that is usually the area of concern. So while we haven't had any positive mosquito within the town, we border, our sister border for Worcester, they have. So just wanted to give you an update on that. Emergency preparedness, update on National Preparedness Month. September is actually National Preparedness Month. I wanted to show you these reusable bags that Eileen was able to secure through the state. So no plan and prepare. Eileen spent some time being able to get some free items in here, and she's going to be doing some educational campaign at the upcoming farmers market. So I wanted to show you what she did. Eileen, do you want to just jump in and let them know they got a couple of opportunities with Family Service as well?
Oh, I really did. So we have a clearinghouse through the state that we can get items for. This bag, I don't know if you can see it, but you probably have seen them around. It actually lists what you should put in the bag. Well, we're not going to fill it with all them items. The state was able to give us a few things that can kind of get people thinking in the right directions: flashlights, paraphernalia, medicine, to kind of let them know what they should put aside should there be an emergency with what's going on in Texas, Florida, you know, winter coming up. It's really the time. So at the farmers market, we're just going to hand out some information, hand out these bags, and talk to them about what they need to do to prepare themselves, even if it's just this bag. And then Auburn Youth and Family Services, they have, Carolyn, you did it with me last year, so we're going to do an in-service training over there. And this year, we're actually going to do the same campaign that I do at the farmers market. I'm going to do at Auburn Youth and Family Services. And hopefully their students, their graduate students, and some of their staff can take it forward and start a campaign of their own with the clientele that they have. It doesn't necessarily need to be storm-related, or it can be for children that, you know, get uprooted, and what can you take in your bag if, you know, you needed to, you know, you had some other kind of emergency in your house. So she's hoping that after I do the training there, which I think is in the next couple of weeks, that her staff can then take it a little forward and do some training with their families, which I think that's what the whole month is for. So you building blocks, you start at one, and hopefully it will go out. I also was able to secure some senior information for what seniors need to do. Everyone should be doing the same thing, but maybe on a different level, the prescription meds and things that maybe they'll need to think about. So we're hoping, don't know if we'll fit it in this month, we really have a busy month, but between now and October, sometime around flu season, that we can do something up at the senior center as well for it.
And plus, we might be able to join, you know, some efforts. We're going to be doing the flu clinic. You know, we usually do a flu clinic sometime in October. So we might be able to bring some of the resources to that. But we thought, you know, it kind of, it's hard to watch on TV, but it kind of gets your mind thinking in different parts of the country where they experience really devastating emergencies. You know, we don't typically have that, but we do have snow emergencies, you know. But this, we thought, was a good way to kind of use some resources from the state. So that is the update on emergency preparedness. Community health. I wanted to, I think I've mentioned in the past, the opioid awareness grant. So the school and the town have met together, and the school was the recipient of a youth opioid grant, basically to raise awareness about opioids and to try to prevent opioid prevention. So we have been meeting on a regular basis with town officials, town administration, police, fire, school superintendent and her key staff, to be able to figure out a timeline for what opportunities we can offer with this grant. And so we have come up with a vigil as kind of a kickoff or an inaugural event to basically bring the community together, or try to bring the community together, to just kind of let them know we're trying to do something in the realm to raise awareness about opioid prevention. The date of the vigil is going to be October 17th, and it's going to be at the Auburn High School at 7 o'clock. So this would basically be the start of a series of activities surrounding the grant, and trying to reach out to different groups of people within the community to be able to recognize maybe signs of opioid use, or to try to get opioid prevention resources out there. The vigil is going to be something where we would have some brief remarks from members of the community, and possibly a personal, somebody that may have been touched by it personally, and be able to just have some resources to be able to understand that there's other help out there. Eileen was also able to get some resources through the state, a lot of the stigma and the stigma campaign. So we're trying to get those available for this event. The schools, I know, have scheduled a speaker to come and speak to the kids. Somebody that I believe it's an athlete that has had some trouble with opioids and how that person overcame them. So there's a speaking event. There's also in plain sight, there's going to be basically I think it's almost like a room set up where they'll have various items that would be set up in, say, a kid's bedroom, and where you would look for signs that paraphernalia that you might not recognize as a parent. I think they're also going to have, maybe a community engagement, something where people that may not know a lot about it, we have some speakers working with school resources. So just wanted to let you know that this is in the planning stages. So it's going to be Auburn's Vigil of Hope, basically an opioid awareness evening on October 17th at 7 p.m. So more information to follow, but it's something that I know in the past we have talked about doing some education, and when you were with us as an intern, this was one of our things that we wanted to move towards community health, educational opportunities. This is a good example to kind of move in that direction and put in town and school resources together, I think, to help kids, to help adults, to help parents, to help anybody in the community that's affected by it. So obviously, you as medical professionals have expertise in this area. I certainly, any help or anything that you can offer, please let us know. Okay. Flu season, believe it or not, it's here. We have received a some of our order. We're still waiting on the final piece of the order, but I wanted to let you know we're looking to schedule flu clinics. Our first flu clinic is always at the senior center to make sure our seniors are covered. So we're going to be probably reaching out to the senior center director and her assistant to figure out when the best time is. But we usually do sometime in October to be able to capture that first flu shots, and then we with any vaccine that we have after that clinic, then we do public clinics. So just wanted to give you an update on that. If either of you are interested in being in any of the clinics, let me know. The ethics training reminder, just a reminder, if you haven't updated that, we'll take that certificate from you. I think, Eric, I already got yours.
I have one from 2016. Do I do it again for
I think it's
2017?
I think it's good until 2018. I think it's good for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So I think you're
good.
yeah, I think you're good. So office update, I wanted to let you know that we have a change in staffing. Unfortunately, we had a resignation from our health inspector. So we are advertising for that
Karen?
position. Yes, yeah, unfortunately. So she.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
She has
Sorry to hear that.
an opportunity, and so we have advertised for the position, and we're hoping to be able to advertise for a couple of weeks, and then we will start interviews once again. So I'm happy to tell you that Erin did a great job while she was here. And we are happy with the progress for the food establishments. Obviously, losing somebody, there's going to be a training period again. So we're hoping to be able to stay on top of the inspections, but obviously leaves a void in our department again. So we will keep you updated as to when interviews will be starting again. And then the farmers market schedule, so we're down to 2 farmers markets left. We have one September 24th and one October 29th. It works out to be the last Sunday in each of the months. So we thought that it might be helpful to focus on, at least for September. We're going to do the preparedness, because it makes sense to us to do that. Thank goodness, I don't want to say it too loud, but thank goodness we haven't had a ton of West Nile events this year, not like we did last year. I think we had a lot more events last year, but we are open to having any other information that you want to see at the table. I think we have both Paula and Eileen confirmed for the September event?
Yes, September 24th.
September, yeah, so September
What is
event.
October's date?
October 29th.
I'll probably come for a while and remember I had my concussion poster?
I love it.
So I'll do
Beautiful.
that. I did go to the last concert too.
Oh,
And
yay,
I did.
that's awesome.
Nice, I didn't know that.
Yep, I did, and I did ticks, Lyme disease.
Oh, good,
Did Lyme
yay,
disease.
that's
And I
awesome.
actually, after the meeting ends, I want to talk to you a little bit about
Okay.
something that'll make it easier for me. So that's
If
great.
the 24th, if you go, what is your time frame? Because we're going to do scattered times.
Oh, okay.
I will definitely be there earlier. She'll be there earlier.
And I'd rather go
She has
later.
And she has an event
yoga.
to go to, and I have an event to go to,
And I
so
do yoga in the morning, so I'd rather do the later part.
That's
of the
awesome.
day.
that's perfect. So
that
then we
works
can
out
close up
perfect.
what we're doing, but we'll have a place for you to say
Yeah,
what
and
you're
you can
doing.
leave, and you can leave that, and I can take it you know.
Yeah.
And we can help coordinate, you
Yeah.
know, the
So we
table
can
and.
talk
yeah.
some more
Yeah,
about that
absolutely.
So we'll
offline.
get you-
I'll email you, I'll put you in an
Yeah,
email
okay.
thing so that
And
we
we'll
can
coordinate
figure out.
offline, yeah, perfect.
So if
Yeah.
there's anything for, if anybody's available for October, you let me know.
I'm
And if-
thinking flu maybe, or?
I love it. Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
I'm thinking flu.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a cute.
Yeah, I'll be
bottle.
October.
Okay.
Yeah.
The, any questions on any of that? I know I just threw a lot at you. No?
No.
Okay. So Maven report, so for communicable disease, our public health nurse, Cheryl, provided the report.
Thought I had that.
Yes.
These are new since the last.
Yes, that's a monthly report, yes. And I date stamp it in when she drops it off.
So the net, so if it was bacterial, it would be right?
No, you can, it just, at least the managers are no type, because that's something
Yeah.
new, so.
Do you have questions that you want to have the nurse provide any?
I'm sure she's on it. It's
Yeah.
just for-
Yeah, she,
You're just-
well, yeah, she follows, she's on Maven Daily.
Yeah.
But this is, I asked her to provide a report for us so that I can obviously give to you monthly. Okay. Okay. And we are, so for inspections, Eileen, do you want to just give an update on a couple of the places, the one we were talking about earlier? Did you have in the works?
Oh, Zabel?
Yeah.
I talked about that last week, so, last month. So 33 Zabel Ave is still not opened, but they're working on it. We did open Yogurt Island. They are up in West Side
Yeah,
Plaza.
West Side Plaza.
So they were opened up about 2 weeks ago. 33 Zabel is the convenience store that was closed down, and she's working on a lot of the outside stuff, so I anticipate in a couple weeks she'll be opened. We are starting all of our temporary events, so we had Relay for Life was this past weekend. 2 weeks from now, we have Alumni Weekend, which they've extended from Friday to Sunday. They've added an ice cream social on Friday, they've added a pancake breakfast on Sunday, so that's Farmers Market weekend, so the town will be bustling on that weekend. And we have all of our road races starting, so we have the Broder one, Auburn Youth and Family Service, Crusader Hockey's, their kickoff is this weekend. They just keep coming in every couple of days with the new 5Ks that'll be around town. And the Fall Festival is part of the Alumni Weekend. So on Saturday, the Recreation and Culture Department will be running their craft fair. We had done flu shots there, I think, in the past, if you remember. We will not be doing a flu clinic there this year.
Yeah, that's right.
We have to do the seniors first.
Right, because even last year, yeah, I remember when I was there last year, everyone was asking about the flu clinic. I said, not now, but look in December, we'll be back in December. Yes.
Yeah, so they're going to do that. Our numbers are still good, although Erin will be leaving us, and we will try to keep up. We are having Erin focus on getting us where the next 6 months need to be. So our numbers are actually ahead right now, which is, you know, not something that would be typical, but we're really just having her focus on getting what she can, and then leaving for me what I have to do in certain months, the schools and things like that you really want to spread apart. So we're hoping by the end of the year, even with someone new coming on and new training, that we stay and reach our 100% for our state reporting this year. Nothing else really on the front of food inspections that would be of a concern. Do you have any questions?
All right, so we have, for next meetings, I just wanted to throw out a couple of a couple of dates for you. I anticipate, I mean, we've been going where we have the two scheduled, so we're scheduled for the 2nd and 4th, and at least holding those spots I think is good, but the, you know, I think it's been working out okay, at least, because we haven't had anything emergent, but meeting once a month and then holding that second one if we have something absolutely comes
Sure.
up that is more emergent.
Works.
What, so we have Columbus holiday is when we would meet normally in the second week in October. That brings us to October 23rd or September 25th. So September 25th is 2 weeks from now. Again, I don't have anything on the burner right now. I don't know what your schedule is like. I don't know if we want to go outside of the normal Monday for that October 9th, if you want to meet a different day that week, or if we want to just shoot for October 23rd. I'm not sure if your schedules are out yet.
Mine just came out. I won't be able to do the 23rd, but if
Okay.
you have the two of you can certainly, if you're around.
As of now, I'm okay with the 23rd
Okay.
of October.
What Mondays are you available, Eric?
Really not. I have meetings on, between work, yeah. I'm gonna be on that.
So Monday's not a...
No, not
Is
the
that
best.
typical, or is it just the...
No, this is the way, my schedule varies every month is different.
Okay.
So what we could do is we could at least hold the 23rd as a placeholder, and then if we have to, maybe we can set out a couple of different dates. Does that work okay, the way Paula sends it out? Because I usually have her try to just connect and see what works for you.
Yes.
We try to pick out, you know, a handful of dates, then she sends them out, and then we get the consensus, and then we go from there.
Yes.
Sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll at least hold the 23rd, and then,
Just give them the 25th, all right?
yeah, we're gonna hold the 25th. I don't think we have anything
Yeah,
pressing
it's
right
probably
now,
different,
but yeah. Are either of you available just in case on the 25th,
I am.
September?
September 25th, yes.
As of now, I am.
Okay.
Could change, but
Yes.
I wish I was here the 17th of October. I'm out of town. But I know I'm bummed.
Okay. All right.
It's my second leg of training, so.
So, well, we are hoping to videotape it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
we're gonna try. I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of the videotaping, but we're gonna try. All right, so we'll hold September 25th, October 23rd, and then we will be in touch for updates. All right?
Okay.
All right. That's it. All right, and I think that's the end of our meeting. All right. And I do a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
All right. Second motion. Thank you for joining us. Good night.